at 6:01. We will be led by prayer and pledges by Dr. Scagliola. Will everyone please stand for the...
Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessing on those who gather in your name. And as we conduct the business of the city, we ask for your guidance to keep us on track of what needs to be done to promote the common good and address the needs of our community as we strive to build a better tomorrow and a brighter future, inspired by your word, to the glory of your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Good afternoon, and we would like to recognize the Boy Scout troop from 512 who are in the audience. Would you please stand? Thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. Upcoming announcements.
Thank you.
Mr. Bryant.
Just to let everybody know that plans starting on Thursday, February 28th, there will be a full main lane closure of IH-35 at FM 1103. That should start about 9 p.m. on Thursday, February 28th, and it's planned to go through 6 a.m. The next day, Friday, March 1st. The existing FM 1103 bridge will also be closed during this time, so again, it's going to disrupt traffic significantly. Just to remind you, this Saturday, March 2nd, 8 a.m. check-in, 9 a.m. kickoff, the 11th annual Will and Check Walk for Life will occur. That's kind of right behind us in the Samuel Clemens parking lot at 1001 Elbel. Also starting March 2nd, we've got the annual spring cleanup, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, free for Schertz residents. We've got the temporary drop-off site over at 125 Pecan that we've been using. House or hazardous item drop-off will occur March 9th to 11th. And again, if you have questions, you can call Republic Services directly or the Schertz Public Works Department. They can give you information. Our next council meeting is Tuesday, March 5th. Wednesday, March 6th, we've got the Schertz Now and Then, an evening of heritage and history at 6 p.m. at the Schertz Public Library. City of Schertz and Crossvine are proud to announce the completion of the Schertz Now and Then, an oral history, which is a 25-minute documentary chronicling the rich history and growth of Schertz. It's free and open to the public. So again, that's Wednesday, March 6th at 6 going forward. And you can get more information on that at the Schertz website.
Thank you. Dr. Brown, any announcements or recognitions?
I just have one announcement, and I got an email from Councilman Edwards, and he's attending his son's last basketball game at West Point, United States Military Academy, so he couldn't be here with us tonight, and he wanted me to mention that, and it's exciting for him as his son's graduating this spring.
Thank you. Now we will have a 30-year service recognition. Dr. Brown and Chief Long.
Well, it's really an honor for me to be up here recognizing Harry Hewlett for 30 years of service with the City of Schertz. What an outstanding career he's had with our city. It's a distinct honor for me to be able to do that and to be here with him and his family tonight. And I'd like to thank the firefighters for coming out and supporting one of their own. So it's always great to see them here. Just a little bit about Harry's background. He is from Dover Township in New Jersey, and he actually moved to Texas when he was 7 years old, and he graduated from Samuel Clemens High School in 1988. He was a football, track, and baseball athlete while he was here at Samuel Clemens. And also while he was in high school, he joined the volunteer fire department. And then after he graduated, he went to fire school at Texas A&M, continued to volunteer here, and actually was offered a full-time position at the age of 19 years old. So right out of high school. After working for 6 years here, he was promoted to lieutenant, and then 3 years later, he was promoted to captain. And then when we opened station number 2, he became the battalion chief there. And as of 2018, he is our fire safety training officer. So he's advanced steadily up the ranks and shown that great progression. In his spare time, he loves to hunt and to fish and spend time with his family. I'd like to recognize his family members here with us, his wife, Robin, his son, Hunter, and his daughter, Sarah. Sarah is a senior at the University of Incarnate Word. Hunter is, you can see he's in his baseball garb here. He came straight from baseball practice. And he is going to be attending UTSA in the fall. So, Harry, congratulations on fantastic work, fantastic service to the city of Schertz. Let's all come on up here. Can I come up? Come on up here. So we started doing something new, and that's actually to pin on his pin. This is kind of a tradition in the military, so I kind of like to do that. So I'll put the frog on the back. I won't hammer it down on your chest there. So it's great. Congratulations. Come on over here, everybody.
Come on, boss. Come on, boss.
No wet willies. The floor is yours.
Oh, I don't need it for it. The city's done far more for me than I've done for it.
Thank you. That was awesome. Now it is time to hear the residents, and we have Maggie Titterton.
Good evening, Council. Well, big major announcement. Next Thursday, 5:30, EVO, grand opening. We're going to be doing a ribbon cutting. They're going to be very short, very sweet, and tickets are already on sale for Captain Marvel that night. Already got mine. So unfortunately, no free showings, no free passes. What a bummer, but that's okay. But yes, EVO will be opening up. It'll be just a very simple ribbon cutting ceremony, not too much to do. They want to kind of keep it low key because the official grand opening is going to be the 8th for the whole weekend. But please make plans to attend, please, 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 and we'll do a good Schertz welcome to them. Also, I want to give a shout out to facilities. Joe and Todd, if you have not stopped by the chamber, we have 2 brand new doors. Oh, they look awesome. Okay, so it's chamber and the visitor center, but they're brand new brown doors that go off to the side of my office and then also where the kitchen area is, but the doors have been cracking, very weathered, and they just did such an awesome job, and they just make such a difference. So thank you so much, Joe and Todd, for getting that done. Also, taste tickets are going pretty well. The taste is March 21st at Retama Park, and it is from 5 to 8, so if you have not gotten your tickets yet, please come on out to the chamber offices or the senior center to buy them. We have a ribbon cutting That's going to be happening at the Chamber on March 11th. It is for ASP, America's Swimming Pool Company, and it'll be at 9 o'clock in the morning. Express Chiropractic will be March 15th at 1:30, and they're located off of 3009, and all these will be coming in your weekly calendar on Friday so that you can have the exact addresses. And March 22nd is the grand reopening of Schlotsky's Austin Eatery. They're going to have a bar in there. They've changed the menu. They'll still have their classic sandwich, but a lot more like street tacos, things like that. But that all goes online on the 22nd of March. We don't have a time set yet, but we're thinking probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere around lunchtime for that. Other than that, that's all we have. A very busy March coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Now we have a workshop, employee engagement survey. Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Cox.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Dr. Brown. We'll try to be as brief as possible tonight. We just wanted to provide everyone an update. Back in November, we were here and we presented the results and reviewed the results of the latest employee engagement survey. We also introduced the idea for how we can practically apply the feedback that we received, which we spoke to and called as the best practice workshop. So as a reminder, these workshops are groups that are comprised of facilitators, meaning that is the department head that scored high in the construct, and then also attendees or those departments that may have scored a little bit lower in that construct. The plan was to take some of the constructs from the survey, such as internal communications or employee development, for example, or a couple of the constructs, and hold a series of 5 meetings once a month to begin in January and then to wrap up in May. The goal of these workshops is for the departments to not only learn from one another, but to develop SMART goals. So what we're saying that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, with defined action plans that are tied to them, and then also to communicate and involve all staff throughout the process. This is something that's been important to us, and that is what I know we heard from Council in November as well. So we had indicated that we were going to come back and provide updates on how things were going. And so we are currently 2 months into the workshops. We began in January and completed the round 1 meetings, and we are almost done with the round 2 meetings. So we actually have 11 meetings a month scheduled, and as of tonight, going into tomorrow, we'll have 2 more left. So Lindsay's going to speak a little bit more about kind of the content of those meetings.
So as Sarah mentioned, departments have included their staff several times throughout this process so far, and specifically they've discussed the constructs in which they're meeting for and areas for opportunity, which was the first homework assignment that they had. And currently right now they're discussing and brainstorming ideas for what those SMART goals are going to be. So they're including their staff every step of the way to gather that feedback. And the next step is that during the March meetings, the departments will actually finalize those SMART goals and turn those into management for review. And some of the accomplishments that we're excited about that we just wanted to share with you guys that have come specifically from these meetings is a few of the department heads have identified training plans specific to positions, and we'll work on implementing those. And we've emphasized employee recognition, not only for specific employees throughout the city, but also spotlighting some of the departments and the major accomplishments that they've had throughout the year. And then also increasing cross-communication within the department themselves. And lastly, we just plan to come back in April or May and continue to provide you an update on where we're at in the process and the accomplishments that we are achieving through the process. We'd be happy to answer any questions or any.
Questions from council? Dr. Scagliola?
Yeah, this addresses the validity of the data that's collected. Generally speaking, if you get information and it's indicating one thing and you go around correcting that thing, but it's not really the problem, you really haven't corrected anything. So the concern I have is that what I hear from individuals through the grapevine is the perception that the survey itself really isn't autonomous. For example, if you are in a work group with only 2 or 3 people, and one of you takes the survey and the other one doesn't, well, everybody knows exactly what your answers were. So they worry, okay, is it really autonomous? is it really non-attribution? So I'm just wondering, one, how can we get more people to participate in the survey so that we can get more data and more, hopefully more transparency, and then to ensure people that, yes, indeed, we value your opinions, we want to hear from you, and it is non-attribution and as autonomous as we can possibly make it. Any ideas?
If I may, Councilman, because it's probably outside of, I think, the scope of what they had planned for with the survey, and the last one was conducted when I was acting city manager. So to be clear, one of the things we do that for small units, and this affects sort of the usability of the survey. So GIS, as many of you know, it's two folks. It's Tony McFalls and Bill Gardner, and so obviously if their results came out and were just them, it'd be fairly easy to figure out if one didn't respond, who answered the way they are. So they're lumped with the IT department. So small departments with just a few people get grouped. Now the drawback, as I said, is they don't really get a feel for GIS by itself. But again, it allows that that anonymity so that we don't know who responded. And you could argue, well, it skews the IT results a bit as well. But that's how we do it to ensure that we aren't able to go through the surveys and say, this person answered this to a particular question. Now, all of those survey results for each department and each unit we put out, and so our employees can go through and they can look at it. And so they have those to see where they're lumped. And again, I'll tell you, they won't find one with a single person in it that data is broken out. I will say this, that we spend a lot of time talking about what do we think those survey results mean, so we don't misinterpret it to say, well, I think it means this, they're not happy about this or that. And so that's, I think, part of the reason they've gone through this process is to really talk about it. What's behind it? What do we think that means? How does that affect the bigger picture going forward? The last thing I'll touch on is we certainly want to encourage as much participation as possible, and I think the more we've done this, I tend to think what I hear, this isn't everybody, is that they understand how the process works. There's not been blowback on anybody for responding the way they respond, and I'll be the first to say, yeah, some of those, I had some very negative comments about things on mine, things that I don't think we do well that I'm not happy with. But you may recall that, interestingly enough, one of the things that I think we heard from some council is, in fact, that in prior years we had made a really big push to get as many people to respond as possible, to the point that in past years we don't know who's responded or not, but we knew how many folks had responded per unit. So if I've got 9 people in IT and GIS, I know I've had 7 respond, and we would push, hey, really work to get your folks out. We, in fact, got some comments that maybe we were pushing too hard, and so this year we pulled back. So that may, in fact, have been part of the reason. So I think it's a balancing act with it. But I will say, I think part of what, when Lindsay and Sarah set this up, and part of these facilitated groups, it's to try to understand broadly what's behind that, as opposed to assume I know what a particular answer to a particular question means in the larger context, or that we're going to use that indicative of the entire construct. That's why each construct has multiple questions to give you a better feel. So again, certainly if you'd like me to show you that, I can. If you want to send employees my way who say, hey, there's not anonymity to it, it's just 2 of us, that isn't the question, and I'll point them to the intranet where we've got those and they can see they're not broken down that way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. It says for the workshop item, the next steps. What exactly are your next steps? What are could you give me a hint as the perhaps 3 key concerns that you'll be addressing?
Well, so there's several different concerns. It kind of depends on the construct and the department, but each department has identified from the 3 construct meetings that they're attending a SMART goal that they're going to put in place. So essentially what we're trying to get out of this is for each department to identify a SMART goal, but then also an action plan that they can show that we've established what we want to do, this is how we're going to put the plan in place, but then also share that back out with employees in an effort to be transparent, to show our initiative in taking these results seriously and using that information to make an impact.
So I would just say it's gonna vary by the department, because each department's going to be a part of a different construct. And that's one of the things that has been discussion in each of the meetings is when you're going back and talking to the staff, it's not saying, hey, how did you answer this? It's more of as a group, or just here are the results that we got. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. People had good scores. Overall, I would say it's just looking at the construct in general and just saying what are areas for opportunity that we can improve on. So it's no need trying to single somebody out and say, how did you answer this? What can we do? Why did you respond this way? But I would say that at least from the feedback that we've gotten from department heads, that employees have been very willing to give their ideas and their thoughts and why they answered certain ways and have seemed to be very involved with it. So at least from our standpoint, we're pleased with how it's going. So we're looking forward to seeing this continue throughout the rest of the meetings that we have scheduled.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate your efforts. That's all I have, ma'am.
Anyone else on council?
Thank you.
I had a comment. If I could, I just wanted to recognize Sarah and Lindsay. I mean, when you do this survey, we did the same survey in the city of Alamo Heights. There's really not a method to take this any further. I mean, it doesn't come with here's the suggested next steps. So Lindsay and Sarah really themselves have developed this program to try to make it meaningful and so that we get the maximum that we can moving forward. So I'd just like to recognize and thank you for your dedication in doing that, and I think it will bear good fruit for the city employees.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Main Street Committee. Mr. James.
Certainly on me, but you'll have to pardon me. I didn't load up in time. I'm going to have to take a moment here. Apologize.
No worries. Take your time.
Yeah, it'll take a minute because we've got security on it, so it'll take a sec. But maybe I'll try to talk a bit. So you may recall we've been at this quite a while. We're trying to move it forward. We wanted to make sure we didn't miss steps, so we went out to the public, got some input going forward. We touched base with the Main Street Committee after the last meeting about how we want to proceed forward to sort of kick this off. And the method we're proposing and that we floated there is to essentially do it in segments, kind of tying on to other construction projects that we've got. Just with the limited capacity we've got at the city, I think we felt that the idea was if we tied into our other efforts, the various components, we can move it along much more quickly as a result. And that's what we plan to do. Assuming I can remember how I titled it, I'll open it up. Okay, so just to revisit sort of what we've been talking about, and this is our rough budget that we've got at this point, is the idea is to take the parking lot that we've got over by the railroad tracks that the city has the long-term lease on and construct improvements with that. We estimate that's going to take about $350,000. Again, part of that is we want to have that to be a multi-purpose lot. We don't just want a parking lot, and it's a parking lot all the time. We want to really integrate that in events. So those of you who were out at the last couple of events, you notice we tried to program that a bit, and we want to make that easier to happen. Not just for the big events where we shut down Main Street, but if, for instance, we just want to do a First Friday kind of thing where we bring some food trucks out, that it's real easy to move them in, that we've got power, that we've got water connected, that we met the railroad's requirement for the ornamental fencing between the lot, and that it's conducive to those. So it serves as parking normally, but then we can easily convert it to events. That'll be a standalone project. That, along with the street surface improvement, we're looking to go to EDC. As you remember, the Schertz Economic Development Corporation has certain limitations as to what they can fund in terms of public infrastructure, and so we want to present them with a couple of options going forward for them to be able to participate with us. But that will do as a standalone project. We also then want to lump the sidewalks and the bump outs, which involve the curbing at intersections, as a separate project. We'll tack that on to the funds we have this year for our sidewalk program. Now, before folks get really excited going, hey, are you going to fix the sidewalk in front of my house? Likely we are not, because again, we've got a limited pot of money. But much like we've started with our pavement condition index, Doug Ledritter and Jimmy Hooks, who have left, have bailed. Are they in the back? They're hiding. They have started the process of developing a model based on, I believe, San Marcos and New Braunfels, kind of a Pflugerville mashup. They went out and looked at best practices for cities doing how do we prioritize sidewalks. And rather than spend a bunch of money having somebody come in and do the whole thing, they feel like our crews can work and create a system that's not overly complicated. So again, it's not the 0 to 100 score like the streets. We don't need that. It's really kind of a 0 to 4 kind of thing of kind of good shape, medium, bad shape, no sidewalk kind of thing, and then we can use that going forward. So we think this is something we can manage, that they and their crews, so kudos to them for sure to go with that. For those who've been on TSAC and people in the audience on TSAC, we've had a couple of projects that are very high profile in terms of sidewalks. So the idea is to tack this on with that, gain some economy as a scale, and this part can get managed with that. To be clear, what we are going to do is fill in the gaps of where there are no sidewalks down on Main Street. We're not planning to come in and redo all the sidewalks to 6 foot wide. We don't have the funds. ADA creates some challenges. The number of drive approaches creates an issue. But we feel like for about $400,000, we can get in there and do a good job. And maybe the most egregious example of where we've got gaps that the sidewalks we have aren't usable, we can correct those as well. About $150,000 for the bump outs. But we'll do that as a project on its own, coupled with the sidewalk program we do, and so like we'll design and bid that out together. Decorative lighting will be done at 1. Again, once we know where we've got the sidewalk gaps, will come in. We've been in conversations with GVC to put current, just the standard lights on the poles they've got, and then we're going to come in with an ornamental light going forward. Likely what we will do is much like we've done at the Crossvine or something like that, maybe a slightly different version, but pick one that we can use in multiple places. So I'm not getting too fancy with a specialized pole, but I've got a pole that I can keep some in stock. They're easy enough to swap out if they get damaged, etc. Not too complicated. Sort of what we're having to do with Crossvine with their ornamental lights as well with that. So the lighting will come in as a separate project. The idea is we need to do something with street service. We took a look at some textured paving that folks have. I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. And then we'll come in with the ornamental benches, trash cans, and paving as needed to contain the benches as a separate project after that. So once we get the street done, we'll come in with the stuff that typically is up off the sides of that as a separate program. But again, the idea is to do the texture paving, the street surface as part of our maintenance program this year with other streets to get some economy as a scale and better manage that as opposed to having this as a separate. And then lastly, we'll come in with the monumentation. I will say we've had conversations with SCUC ISD. I think one of the things that we got some really good feedback on, probably because we sort of misstepped a bit, is folks don't want a crazy sort of sculpture out of context. They want something that fits the context of it. And so what we did is reached out to the school district about sort of maybe partnering with them and their metalworking program to have their students either as part of a contest or something as permanent do some installations and do some of that metalworking for us so that, one, we've got something unique. It's not necessarily bought out of a catalog, but this is actually something that people can point to and go, oh, yeah, I know so-and-so. He's the one who worked on this section, or she is. They can bring their families out and show them, and so it's a good way to integrate the school district with that. And that, again, the cost estimate we've got is about $200,000, $220,000 for some of the things we need to do above and beyond. Again, as I mentioned, just in more detail, the parking lot improvements, we would do that as a standalone. We're trying to get the cleanup now. I've got Doug helping me with that to try to get it striped and get signs up with it. He was good enough to remember to check the agreement. We've got to get some ornamental fencing up between the railroad tracks, and so he's helping me with that. So again, kudos to Doug and his team on that. Sidewalks we'll do as separate with our sidewalk program. Decorative lighting, again, may not use quite the Crossvine style, but the idea is to use a standard, so I don't have 5 different kind of ornamental poles throughout the city, but I've got one sort of standard in kind, but again, may not go with the green. Heard some feedback, maybe a black would be better, something like that. But the idea is that we don't run into the problem we have. Ironically, we just talked about water fountains where I've got a tricky kind of light fixture, it gets damaged, and then it's down for 4 months because I can't replace it. Well, we want to have those on stock and be able to deal with. Textured paving, again, an example of this sort of material was done out at Public Works as an example, so we think fairly cost effectively. We can come in and do that. Again, be able to take out patches as work is done and things like that. Do want to make sure I've had some follow-up conversations with Jimmy a bit about the number of repairs we've had on water and sewer lines in the street surface. What we don't want to do is come and do it and then all the Public Works guys and water sewer going, could have told you that. How long? Who won the bet if it only took us X number of weeks or we had to rip it up because we've got a line sort of broken. So we want to make sure that if we need to do some line replacement, we get going on that so we're not, as we typically lament. The idea is to tackle that with sort of our SPAM project. Again, ornamental benches and trash cans, and then the monumentation coming up in the end. So just as a reminder, some of the things that we've done, because it's amazing how much we do get calls. In fact, I got a call from a guy on this yesterday. We've done the fee waiver in the Main Street area. We've got the Main Street mixed-use district zoning, which I think you had a case come through a couple meetings ago for somebody rezoning to that. Allows you to convert residential commercial, deals with some different standards based on some uniqueness. We've got the Main Street grant program. We've started doing some events down there, moving on Main and relocated to Schertz 60. You approved the amendments to the floodplain ordinance. That is a huge change. Doesn't just apply to Main Street. But again, it allows folks to invest in those maintenance items that we would all consider routine maintenance, not an improvement, without running up against that ceiling that we have to enforce so that people get their subsidy for flood insurance. Council just recently approved in December the Main Street Economic Development Programs. Those are funded through general fund, and I believe your budget item tonight is the final approval to have funding available for that going forward. That tends to be for physical improvements, parking lot, outside stuff, signage, whatnot, that wouldn't necessarily fall with the historic grant, and the structure doesn't have to be historic to comply as well. So the idea is to sort of hit everybody a bit. But again, likely what we'll do is cap the amount people can get from the city so that we're not giving out too much. And as I said, then the funding for the Main Street Economic Development Program. So again, it's on, we're hopefully, I believe, if it got on as we asked, Thursday night with EDC to walk them through this. We've talked to them about it before, but to come to them and say, hey, we want to boost y'all's participation. Just as a reminder, and I probably didn't put it in, the funding we've got is the $1 million specifically for the Main Street improvements. We've got the 2010 leftover bond funds, about $400,000 going forward, and then come to EDC for about another $350,000 to be able to knock this out and make a big dent. And so our goal would be is to get going on this stuff fairly rapidly now in the spring and move through the year as best we can so that we do it in phases rather than one big project. A benefit of that, we think, is it's, in fact, probably less disruptive for the businesses there, because when I'm working on sidewalks, if I'm not working on the sidewalk in front of their business, they're generally fine as opposed to shutting the thing down and trying to do everything at once. But obviously, street work will disrupt the whole thing, and we'll need to phase that, reaching out to the business owners to understand when the best time is. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But barring concerns from council, we're going to move ahead and try to get this thing moving as quickly as we can.
Questions from council?
Yeah, I'm an analyst, so I like my Gantt charts. Any idea, estimate where we are from inception to completion on this revitalization?
So once we go to EDC, we then likely will come back with a refined, and what we can do is we probably won't actually do a Gantt chart with it, but what we can do is a similar simplified version of a timeline of the stages. We can do that as a written update, and then what we'll do is, as you've noticed, some of your first council meeting of the month, your large project list has been growing. We've included things like the agenda software on that. We've included the City View permitting software. We will add this as part of that. So each month you'll get a written update, and then as council desires, we'll come back. So we'll include that timeline on the first one.
That's excellent. And I think everybody knew $1 million wouldn't do it. And you're talking additional funding of $400,000, $350,000. Can you give us an estimate what the total expenditures will turn out to be?
So we'll see when we come through. Again, we're trying to work off a budget that's about $1.75 million or so is what we're about. So if we need a bit more, we can certainly come back for a bit more to tack over, but that's the frame we're working in. I think what we've heard from the committee very clearly is we've got a lot of need, but what we don't want to do is put something in and not have it make enough of a dent so that it doesn't have the effect that we want, which is to have people walk out there and go, wow, this is really different. Haven't been here in a while. The city's really made an investment. What we don't want is you see the ornamental light pole amid all of the stuff that looks worn out and tired and not where you need it to be.
Yeah,
If you need more, we'll come back, but that's the budget we're shooting for.
It's a lofty goal, and I appreciate that you're keeping your finger on the pulse. Thank you so much.
Anyone else on council? Thank you, Mr.
So barring that, you'll likely get written updates, and we'll start moving forward, continuing to update the Main Street Committee.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda items. Item number 1, approval of minutes of the regular meeting of February 12th and special meeting February 19th, 2019. Item number 2, ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an adjustment to the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date. Final reading. Item number 3, ordinance number 19D08, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, amending the City of Schertz Code of Ordinance by revising Section 86-115, maximum limits, establishing a speed limit on IH-35 lanes and IH-35 frontage roads. Final reading. Resolution number 19R21, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with Spectrum for new connections for disaster recovery dispatch service at the Bear Metro 911 location and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 5, resolution number 19R22, resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a revised City of Schertz investment policy and strategy. Number 6, resolution number 19R23, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing the acceptance of the 2018 racial profiling report and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 7, resolution 19R24, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing on-call contracts for pump and motor maintenance with Advanced Water Well Technologies and Austin Amateur and other matters in the connection therewith. Item number 8, resolution 19R25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing acquisition of an additional permanent easement, and property necessary for the completion of relocating pipelines and apertures related to the FM 1103 road widening project and other matters in the connection therewith. Is there anyone that needs to be removed separately? If not, may I get a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the consent items.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gutierrez to accept consent items and a second by Mr. Davis. I'm calling for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Discussion items, resolution number 19R26, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing a contract with C3 Environmental Specialties relating to the construction of the 2018 drainage maintenance projects. And we have Mr. Scott McLeland.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Temp, Council and Dr. Brown. So this evening we're bringing the contract for C3 Environmental for the 2018 drainage maintenance projects. Because this project has been going on for a little while, I want to do a presentation to bring council up to speed on what exactly the project was originally, and then also what we are getting done with the contract that we're bringing this evening. So the 2018 drainage maintenance projects, as it was called, was originally planned for in the fiscal year 17-18 drainage budget. The goal behind each one of the 6 projects in the original budget was to eliminate ongoing maintenance and safety issues, both for citizens and also for our drainage maintenance staff. So the 6 projects are listed there that were in the original grouping of the drainage maintenance projects. And I have a map and just a couple slides that show each one of those. And so those Hidden Grove, Castle Hills, Colonies Ditch, Schaefer Road, Dietz Road, Osage Avenue. The majority of those are named after the road that these are adjacent to. So don't think that these are the roads. They're just named after the roads they're adjacent to, so we can remember where they are. So each one of these was scoped and priced by the drainage department to come up with a budget number back for the 17-18 drainage budget. And back last January, the LAN, one of our on-call engineers, was contracted to do the design of each of the 6 of these projects. So running in tangent to the 2018 drainage maintenance projects, we also had the Green Ridge Drainage Project, which was being worked on by the engineering department. So this is located in Green Ridge in the Fairhaven subdivision. And basically there's stormwater that runs down Green Ridge and then goes into the Scenic Hills community, which is a gated community. There was never proper infrastructure put there to capture that water before it went into the other subdivision. So the concept behind this project was to capture that water with a drop inlet structure and move it off the street into a drainage easement. This project was also designed by LAN and was being funded by drainage bond funds. The Green Ridge Drainage Project was put out to publicly bid in May of 2018. Because of low contractor interest and high bids, staff recommended that we not proceed with any of the bids that were received. In discussing with engineering and public works staff, it was determined that in order to get the most favorable pricing, this Green Ridge project would be added into the other drainage maintenance projects because similar scopes of work. So it made sense to just combine it. This is a map of the original 6 drainage maintenance projects. As you can see, they're cover a wide portion of the city, and Green Ridge is also up north as well, just not shown on this map. After the Green Ridge was added to the original 6 projects, the project was publicly bid in July of 2018. The way that we structured the bid was that 3 projects were included in the base bid. So that was Green Ridge, Hidden Grove, and Castle Hills. We prioritized those as our top 3 priorities. And based on the engineer estimate, we weren't thinking that we would have more money. We wouldn't have enough in the budget to do more than those 3. So we put the other 4 projects as bid alternates to get pricing just in case the bids came in favorable. And so, again, we had low contractor turnout. Only 2 contractors submitted bids on this, and both were significantly over our budget. So, city staff recommended that council reject all of those bids, which was taken in the form of a resolution 18R 121 last summer. So, kind of went back to the drawing board after that resolution to see what. Because we got such low bids or so low turnout and high prices, what could we do to modify the bid documents to get some of these projects completed? So the first thing that we did was to remove the bid alternates. That those weren't guaranteed projects. So there was no reason to have them on there for the contractors to worry about. Just more work for them to put in that could drive away interest. And then we also removed Castle Hills, which was the third highest priority, to create a bid package that was just our top two priorities, which was Green Ridge and Hidden Grove. We also, in the original bid back in July of 2018, we used a competitive sealed proposal procurement process, which takes into consideration qualifications. There's a scoring system that the contractors are rated on by an evaluation team. So price is only 45% component of that. And so in talking with some of the contractors that we thought might be interested, that never actually bid, one of their feedbacks was to switch to a lowest qualified bidder procurement method. It's an equal way to find a qualified contractor. We set minimum qualifications that contractors have to meet in order to submit a bid, and then it's just based off of price if everybody meets those qualifications. Again, it's something that they don't have to put together a big packet for, just a more contractor-friendly preparation procurement method. So with those that revised strategy, we issued it for bid again in January of this year, and we received 3 bids. And of the 3 bids, C3 Environmental Specialties was the successful lowest qualified bidder. And that, again, that's just for the Green Ridge and Hidden Grove. So tonight we're recommending that City Council approve the contract award for $399,820.45 with a not to exceed value of $439,803 for C3 Environmental Specialties for the drainage maintenance projects. With that, are there any questions from council?
Questions from anyone on council? Call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. Calling for a motion on my glasses on. The resolution 19R26.
Yeah, to authorize the contract with C3 Environmental Specialties.
Second.
I seconded.
Call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. I do have a question, but aye.
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 Okay, I was wondering what's the time frame for putting the other ones on the up for bid? Because
so there actually is remaining budget that was approved in the second reading of Ordinance 19 T06 that you all just approved on second reading to transfer those funds forward. So in the original budget, we have some remaining funds that this project won't spend all of it. So we're going to reassess, see what we have left, and apply that to hopefully one of these other projects. And then these projects, since they're fully designed, they'll kind of go into the queue. And when it comes budget time, I believe the Drainage Department has plans to request for funds to do those projects.
okay, and you haven't rearranged the priorities?
We haven't really, I guess, yeah, we haven't really gone. We've been focusing on trying to get these top 2 priorities out, but we haven't reassessed priorities 3 through 7. It's kind of hard to say at this point what we might be able to do with those available funds. So might be able to shift them around depending on what funds we have left to do.
Okay, thanks so much.
Roll call vote, please.
Consent items 1 through 8. Councilmember Gutierrez made a motion. Councilmember Davis seconded. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and Council members Davis, Gutierrez, Larson, and Scagliola voted yes. Motion passed. Item number 9, resolution number 19R26. Councilmember Gutierrez Made the motion, Councilmember Scagliola seconded. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and Councilmembers Davis, Gutierrez, Larson, and Scagliola voted yes. Motion passed.
Thank you. Dr. Brown, is there any other further announcements?
I have no further announcements.
Any council, is there any items that need to be placed on the agenda? Any events that council attended? Dr. Scagliola.
I just want to say last Thursday I went to the chamber mixer at Remax as usual. It was a wonderful evening. And then now I'm looking forward to the Will and Check Walk for Life, which is going to be this Saturday. That's all I have, ma'am.
Couple things. Council on the Go. Considering the attendance we normally have, I think Council on the Go is successful and very informative. Also, several local city mayors, staff, and council members took a trip to the state capitol to express our concerns regarding property tax reform. We're hopeful and anticipate our residents will see some type of relief in school taxes this coming soon, hopefully. Also attended coffee at the chamber. Thank you for the chamber for hosting it, and Broadway Bank also. We went to the Playscape this afternoon. That restaurant is finally open. I'm sure a lot of kids are relieved. And last thing is the Operation Comfort 5K run that we had this past weekend. Thanks to all the sponsors and the runners and the attendings. It's very inspirational to see our wounded warriors out there. What the struggles that they went through, and this nonprofit agency really does help them. And I just want to add a couple of things to that 5K run. Dr. Brown was also a participant there, and he kept running because he forgot his medal. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Larson? No. I went up on the Austin trip, and we're hoping that we will get our legislators to listen to what we need as cities. And it was an event that I actually got to watch different people speaking and engaging, and I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to being able to participate more. And went to the Playscape restroom this afternoon and got to cut the ribbon as Mayor Pro Tem. Looks very nice on the on the outside as well as the inside. And it was a well-needed restroom for the little ones. All right. And there's nothing else, so I will call the meeting adjourned at 6:55.